Our next house today is at 523 South Main Street. For those that have brought up around here, traveled through here a lot, it was many times referred to as the house with the red shutters. In the older days, the houses on main streets like Hightstown in the 19th century, early 20th century were all expected to have green shutters or black shutters. So with this house having red shutters, it was sort of a rogue as regards to the owner at that time putting on red shutters. So that's why many people refer to it. It was built in 1853 during a period of time that this part of South Main Street in Hightstown was not Hightstown. It was still East Windsor Township. The border of Hightstown actually stopped at what we now know as Petra Road. This land was owned by the land itself by a Reverend Asher Moore and his wife Amelia Moore. For those that watched a prior video, you may remember that they owned a house on the corner of South Main and Etcher Road. They actually had 3 sons who tragically drowned in the ponds that we now know today as the Meadow Lake ponds, all falling through the ice, but actually on 2 different occasions. The Moores sold 18 acres of the land that they owned to William Norton and Elizabeth Cunningham Norton, and they built this house, as I mentioned, in 1853. The Nortons did not end up having any children, this branch of the Nortons family, so they willed this property to the Cunningham family, after their death. In 1886, the house was purchased by a John and Helen Schuyler. Henry and Isabel Applegate purchased the house from them in 1899. Henry was the son of E.T.R.A. Applegate. Henry, when he purchased the 7.5 acres from the Cunninghams, he later built 513, which is where we just were. He was interested in raising fruit and poultry, and he enlarged the back of this house and also became very interested in having this part of East Windsor annexed by the borough. Back then, you did not get municipal services unless you were part of a township or borough that provided the same, and a number of the owners that were building in this far area out of Hightstown, wanted some of those municipal services. When it was first proposed in 1913 by Henry, it actually was rejected, and then it was reintroduced in 1915 and passed. Henry had been a councilman in East Windsor Township, and then soon after the establishment of this being part of the borough, 1916, he became a councilman in Hightstown and then mayor in 1919 and 1920. This house style is pretty much referred to as a colonial revival, including the additions were made on it. As you can tell, they're very simple lines and very attractive, and obviously it's been well maintained by the current owners. From 1908 to 1959, Henry and Isabel subdivided the property and sold 41 lots, mostly one at a time, which was very normal from that part of the 20th century. Farmers tended to make money by selling off lots for building. Most of these lots fronted on South Main Street and Etcher Road. In 1938, they created Orchard Avenue, which is right behind us, and extended Orchard Avenue in 1952 and 1956. And it was named that after Henry's orchards. Schuyler Avenue, which is only a couple hundred yards from here, was named after the early owner of this ground named John Schuyler, and that road was opened and built in 1956, which tied into Orchard Avenue. In 1959, when I was a young person, the remaining farm was sold to create what was referred to as Meadowgate Housing Development. But when I used to play back there throwing mud balls at my friends and such, it was we called it the fairways, because the signs that were posted at the entrances when it was being built was called the fairways. The extension of the development continued all the way around into what we know today as Meadow Drive and Clover. Emily and Mary Louise Skehan purchased this farmhouse in the adjacent lot number 519 in 1933. Richard and Emily Adams purchased this house in 1944 on the same day that Prescott and Grace Barrett purchased the 519 lot. Prescott and Grace built a house on 519, and he also, coincidentally, probably not, worked for the First National Bank of Hightstown, which of course is where Thomas Applegate worked, and Prescott was assistant cashier. Richard Adams had lived down in Riverton, New Jersey, but Dick, as he was referred to, had a business on Hickory Corner Road that was a marketing business for produce. And during World War II, even though he was exempt and got as many gas ration cards as he needed, he and his wife thought that as their contribution to the war effort, they should move closer to his place of business. So thus they bought the house here in 1944. They later sold to Mr. Dudley and Diane Greer in 1984, and then 2 years later it was sold to the current owners, which is Dr. and Mrs. Smith. Dr. J, as most of us refer to him, was raised in Hightstown on Stockton Street and right behind here on Orchard Avenue. Robin was raised in Pennsylvania. Again, a well-maintained and well-loved house, both buildings and grounds, and it certainly is a property that's always recognized by people traveling on South Main Street.
Welcome to the William Norton home. My name is Robin Smith, and my husband and I bought this house 1986. So we've been here a long time. We took our time refurbishing it. It was in a bit of disrepair, but we had a lot to work with. There's a lot of original objects and architectural details. I'll start with the main hall, which is the Center Hall Colonial. In front of me is the front door, which is original. It has the hand-blown glass and the original doorbell, which I am very happy to say works beautifully. Although people on the front porch will sometimes have to look for it because it's a little black knob, not your modern doorbell. Behind me is the original back door, which we found in the powder room, which of course was added probably in the 1900s or late 1800s, because of course this house had no indoor plumbing or heating. So anyway, when we were redecorating the powder room, underneath the staircase, behind some dark paneling, we found the original back door. We are now in my formal parlor. When William Norton built the house, this originally was the dining room. We opened up all the fireplaces. They were closed off years ago. The chimneys were cut off at the attic floor. So our good friend Earl Grundyke, who is a fireplace expert, he went around, rebuilt all the chimneys, and we were able to open up our fireplaces and install a wood-burning stove. We are now in our family room. Behind me is our television, and behind the armoire is what used to be the maid's staircase. Unfortunately, the maid did not come with this house when we bought it, but the staircase still remains, and that takes you up to her bedroom on the second floor, which we now closed. It is part of a bathroom and a laundry room now. In this room, originally, it was the winter kitchen. To my left is our wood-burning stove, but originally it was a large cook stove, which would have heated this whole downstairs. So half of the kitchen had a wall, and it was an enclosed porch where the farmers would take their boots off and then come into this nice toasty kitchen, which was quite small. The door to the left leads to a summer kitchen. We are now in our sunroom, which I'm very proud of. This originally was the summer kitchen, which really looked like a shed. It was very primitive, no real heat back here, and very few windows. There was a large wood-burning stove against this wall. We added all the windows. We put in the tile floor. I'm very proud of this room. It gives probably the most light and a good home for my plants. We are now in my favorite room, the kitchen. Originally, this would have been the library back in the 1800s, and I don't know who switched it. This house has flip-flopped with its floor plans, I think with just about every owner that has lived in it. We found the kitchen here, but it was much smaller. The dining room was huge, absolutely huge. And I always knew there was a fireplace behind the existing cabinets. There wasn't really any evidence of it because there was a red Formica countertop and blue cabinets. But when you go up in the attic, Earl assured me that he felt that there was once a chimney there. We used a Sawzall and we took down the cabinets, and sure enough, he found the opening for this fireplace. We then had to adjust our blueprint and make the dining room small to accommodate our kitchen. The cabinets are cherry. We put a large island in. My husband loves to cook. My son is a chef. I would like to add that the painting over the fireplace is one of mine. In the house, you'll see some portraits of historic looking people that I thought went with the decor. Also, my daughter Emily is very talented in watercoloring, so you will see some of her paintings throughout the house. If you look on the mantle, you'll see striped candles, and I painted the background to match the candles. Just a fun fact. We are now upstairs, and this is my daughter's Emily's room. Well, she's now grown up, but it was her bedroom. Initially, back in the 1800s, it was the maid's bedroom. It's quite small, but if this wall wasn't here, it would extend into our now current bathroom. So she had a very big living space. You'll see a chimney. There is no open fireplace, but there was room for a potbelly stove and a vent in the pine floor, which these pine floors are original to the house. So underneath the hardwood, down in the formal areas, there is still the wide pine plank. I'd like to point out this nice little rope bed, but the quilt on the bed, I would say one of the oldest quilts that I do have. And of course, it's all hand sewn and hand tied. We turned the maid's staircase into a laundry area. We put a floor across the staircase. Half of it is closet and half is a stackable washer and dryer. Okay, now we're on the second floor landing, and it's a small landing. I'm surrounded by the family bathroom, which of course, as I said, was part of the maid's room. It's long and narrow. It was a beautiful color of different blues, aqua, teal, and we lived with that for a very long time. The shower was underneath the attic stairs, and you had to bend over to actually get a good shower in. Plus the water pressure was awful. Back then it was the only bathroom in the entire house. So it was a wonderful way to raise 3 daughters. My husband put an egg timer in the bathroom, and they all had to take, I guess you'd call it an army shower. They had maybe 3 minutes, or 3 minutes total to take their showers. So they learned a good, valuable lesson. The bathroom now has a tub and a stand-in shower. This is an antique potty chair. Now, I just wanted to show you that because Mr. and Mrs. Norton, they were using something like this, or the outhouse. Thankfully, we've come a long way from that. The 2 bedrooms to the right are quite large. They all have fireplaces. The one, it's our master bedroom. It has an ensuite. We did make a walk-in closet and another full bath. There's also my daughter Rebecca's bedroom, and there was a very small bedroom, and that it was my son Jack's. We had run out of bedrooms, and he literally had room for a crib. There was a window, and then we turned that into our large walk-in closet. So it was a fun house to live in. My children have wonderful memories here, And of course, Hightstown is the best place to live and raise a family.